high school, I started college in pre-med, and then I dropped out of college because I wasn't mentally ready yet. And I went into the military. And while I was in the military, my older brother went through and became a pharmacist in Detroit, Michigan. And I came home on leave during my last year in the military, and I saw my brother, and when we were growing up as kids, we had worked in the hospital, but my father was a building, he built houses, he was a contractor. And we had helped my dad a lot. And I went into my brother and I said, how do you like this being a pharmacist? Because we were always kind of rough and tumble guys and everything. And it just didn't seem like we would be the typical pharmacist, you know. And I said, how do you like that? And he said, look at me. I said, I've got a tie on. He said, I'm at the top of the medical profession, right up there with doctors, and we have a lot of respect. And he says, and I'm making good money, and I don't have calluses on my hands. And I went, And he said, and after he was working at a chain pharmacy in Detroit, and he said he was saving his money, and he said he was going to open his own pharmacy. And he said when he did, he could be financially on the equivalent with a doctor without going the rest of the school and without the responsibilities of being a doctor, and which is what he did. And as I thought that over, I thought, man, my older brother's pretty smart. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm smart enough to go all the way through pharmacy school, because as you know now, it's not easy. It's very challenging, and it was then also. So I applied to pharmacy school, and I started, and I was very scared because I wasn't sure I was going to be smart enough to make it. And I applied to school after I got out of the military, and I went to college in Michigan, and I graduated. It was a 5-year program then, and I graduated in 4 years. And I got my bachelor's at that time. I did my internship with my brother in his brand new drugstore. So after 2 years of pharmacy school, I was allowed to do some of my internship then. At that time, this was in the 70s of the last century, and we had to do 1 full year of internship, but you could do 6 months of internship prior to graduation by working summers and that. So I did my internship in Detroit, Michigan with my brother in his drugstore up until my 6 months were due. Then the next part of it, on spring break, my senior year, I was in Fort Lauderdale, and with some of the kids from my class from Michigan, we came down for spring break, and we were at a swimming pool, and we were setting, one of the guys next to us in the pool was a banker from DeLand, Florida. And he, the conversations that we had, he says, what do you guys do? And we told him pharmacy school, and I told him I was interested in owning my own someday. He said, there's a little store for sale in DeLand, Florida. And he said, and it's a really good store, and it's a great location. You might want to go up there and do it. And I laughed, and I said, wow, I grew up in DeLand, Florida. I never want to go back there. He said, well, you might want to go look at it. So I said, okay, and I talked to one of my friends, and I said, let's rent a car, and we'll drive up there to DeLand and take a look. So we drove to DeLand, went in and met the owner of the store, and in the meantime, I had called back to pharmacy school and told my professor there of economics what we were talking about doing. He said, here's the information I need you to get. And he had me get all the business data and demographics, and I went to the Chamber of Commerce and got some other local demographics here and took them all back to school. And the last half of my senior year, it was a class project to determine whether this would be a good thing for me to do or not, to own my own, and how to go about owning it. Long story short, I came back down. We made an offer through the phone and mail. The owner accepted it, and I actually owned the pharmacy before I graduated from college. And I wasn't even a pharmacist yet. The pharmacist that was the owner agreed as part of the transaction to stay on with me for 6 months while I did the second half of my internship. And so, and he partially financed the financial part of the purchase of the pharmacy. He held a mortgage, basically. And so here I am, a senior in pharmacy. Everybody was interviewing for jobs, and I said, I don't have to interview for a job, I bought one. So that's how it began. I never thought at that time, when I bought the pharmacy, that I would be there more than 5 to 10 years. my plan was to, at that point, was to grow the pharmacy as best I could, and then open other stores and have my own small chain. It didn't work out that way. It turned out that owning an independent was a lot more than I thought it was, and also the competition was becoming tougher and tougher, and it was harder to do a startup pharmacy. Would have been very, very, very challenging, and I would have not been able to put in what I needed to put into the pharmacy that I owned to make it function well. So I didn't do that, but that's how I got going. So I did that to get my bachelor's degree there. Also, while here, I took extra courses to become a preceptor from the University of Florida, and I also worked part-time in the hospital here in DeLane, Florida. The head pharmacist at the hospital here in DeLane had a heart attack and passed away. And they asked me if I could come in, because I still had a good rapport with a lot of people at the hospital from when I was in high school there, if I could come in and help out some, just to give some of the other pharmacists a day off now and then on a weekend or a night or anything. I ended up working there almost 10 years part-time. I'd go in there Saturday afternoons, and sometimes I'd pull a full 12-hour shift on Sunday, and I would work the holidays for them. When my pharmacy was closed downtown, I would work in the hospital. So I gained a pretty good amount of hospital experience too. And so that's kind of that's how it got going.
In our time now, we have like augmented reality, we have virtual reality, we have a bunch of clubs now on school campuses. What was pharmacy school like for you back then?
Oh boy. Now you realize it's been a long time since I was in school. No virtual reality. Just to give you a scenario where I went to school, I went to Mercer University, which is in Tampa. And you've seen the big, you know, the billion-dollar stadium that's in Atlanta now, if you follow sports. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's the area we went to school. That's why that stadium's there, because it was a big rundown area, and we had to fight off the drunks to get to school. So it was interesting, but it was downtown. It was basically a commuter school, so we didn't socialize with our classmates. So it was pretty much you go in and you get to know a few people, and it was all books, you know, no cell phones, you know, nothing, no computer. So it was, you know, go to the library or do a lot of reading, you know, with your textbooks. So quite different, but some of the people were older. Some people already have professions, teachers, and other things, and decided they want to make more money, go to pharmacy. So it was quite interesting.
Yeah, so our bachelor's program at Florida, there were, I think, about 80 or 90 students in that program. We, compared to what you guys have here, a lot more basic science stuff. So we had a course in pharmaceutics, which was like how to mix, it's kind of like your drug delivery system.
Okay,
maybe.
okay. Yeah, the compounding.
We had like a year of medicinal chemistry, a lot of pharmacology. So it was a lot more, I think, heavily into the basic sciences compared to what you guys have now. We didn't get into more like therapeutics and pathophysiology until the second or third year, and then we only had like 2 clinical rotations in our BS program. But then we also had like we call them internships and externships, where you guys, that was the B. So we did retail and institutional, and that's like you guys do here. And then the PharmD program, yeah.
Well, among them, pharmacists weren't taken seriously. They weren't considered part of the medical team. We were, not that we were disenfranchised. We had to work, you've heard the term work twice as hard and get half the credit. I have to tell you, I am not as good as most of the pharmacists I worked with at that hospital. We had pharmacists that would literally be called by physicians, especially residents and fellows. What do you think I should do here? And all of us just had bachelor's degree. The PharmD didn't even exist. Or it did exist, but it was for people that had, it was only offered in 3 universities, one in California, one in Indiana, and one in New Jersey. So you had to have money because nobody was going to pay for you. Or either that, or you were like most of the people that in Puerto Rico that got them in the first round were people that were going to be professors that actually weren't going to, but they committed to be professors at the pharmacy school. So the pharmacy school sent them to either Indiana, California, or New Jersey to get their degrees.
Okay, so so right now, as a faculty member at the College of Pharmacy, we have what we call effort, and our effort is split. You know, if we have 100% effort, right? So our effort is split into different fractions of how we spend our time. So we have 30% effort teaching. So that means we dedicate about 12 hours a week to teaching. So that's course development. It's giving lectures, it's coordinating courses, so putting exams together, grading exams, you name it. So if we have outside people, we coordinate, you know, those folks coming in. So that's 30%. Then we have another 30% clinical, which is that's our clinical practice site. And so in the clinical my practice at Moffitt, I'm in the blood neurotransplant clinic. So we see patients, so basically what I do when I'm there is I interview patients, I consult with patients before they come into transplant and do some patient education with them about the medications that they're going to be giving them, see if there's any issues or any problems that they're having with their current medications, if there's anything we need to tweak or discontinue or whatever. And then I'm sitting in a clinic room, so I go in and see patients as physicians go in to see patients. We don't do this heresy, I know, the nurses do the med recs, but then we follow up, you know, they come back and say, well, she's having a problem with this, or, you know, can you talk to them about this? And so we go back in and if there's issues with the patient that you're having in terms of their medication therapy, we try to help resolve that with the patient and the other members of the healthcare team. Okay, so that's 60% of our effort, right? So then we have 20% research or scholarly work. So we're doing research projects, we're trying to publish and do other types of scholarly activities because we work for Research One University and that's a big main emphasis, right? And then that leaves us 20%, and then so that's service. And so that's our service to the college and to the university. So that generally looks like serving on college committees or serving on university committees. So right now I'm currently serving on the Faculty Senate on the main campus as the College of Pharmacy representative, and then I also am a vice chair for the Institutional Review Board, which is the board that oversees or has oversight in terms of human subjects research for the university.
Oh wow,
so,
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's fun. I like that a lot. So I don't do a lot of other college committees because I have those two other things that I spend time on.
And listen, you have a lot.
Now I direct, manage, and plan for the pharmacy and what goes on. The director obviously is the manager, so you do HR duties. You also have to worry about funds, where they come from and how much you make. Anybody who tells you that they don't have to worry about money is lying. Especially anybody who tells you that they work for a for-profit institution is lying. Even the not-for-profits have problems with everybody has a budget and everybody has to meet it. If your inventory is too high, you're going to get yelled at, or not yelled at, but looked at and kind of like scowled. If your costs are too high, it's not a good thing. If you want to stay on the CEO's good side, always keep your costs at least $10 below what your budget is. And that's almost impossible to do. But you can do it if you have a good staff and a hardworking staff. I am very lucky in that I have an excellent staff. But I've had staffs that really don't care, and that's the problem. So if you're going to do it, you need to do it well, or don't do it at all.
It's so important with that collaboration because you can't really do much without the doctors.
Right.
And the collaboration with the nurses too. You always get the nurses on your side, and that always helps, especially in the hospital. The thing that I always liked when I was in retail or did any retail or even in the hospital, you could call the doctor's office. You talk to the nurses, they get to know you. and you get to know the doctors. Where now you're sending everything by fax or through the computer. You don't really know anybody.
No real interaction.
So the interpersonal, collaborative chances were very good there. So, and then as we've grown, when I was director at Tarpon and director at All Children's, I was director at All Children's 1 year. And when you're on the P&T committee or director, you have a lot of influence. You can influence that PT committee, the doctors, and they kind of make the rules for the drugs in the hospital.
Yeah.
So and that helps your budget too, because you want to get a formulary, they work on the formulary, and you have one cephalosporin here, and you don't want to get, or you have Me Too drugs, so you get, 4 or 5 in a category. Well, let's pick one we use, so we can go after a contract and get a good price.
Yeah.
So that's the type of thing that you got to do, and now it's a little different, but you still have to go to the doctors if you can get them on your side, and you guys will have the experience clinically, and it's really important when they know what you're talking about. And the younger ones, usually, because they've been around, if you're in, I don't know, you guys will be working with the med students, probably at the med school.
Yeah, we've had a couple activities with them last semester, and we'll have more over the next few semesters.
So that's, when I went back to the PharmD program in Tennessee, we were there, we went with the different rotations that we had, especially in the city hospital that we worked at. You were at, rounds in the morning, and you're doing rounds with the doctor, with the residents and everybody, and they're asking you questions too. So it makes you work harder.
Yeah.
Because you've got something, you want to get to that level where these guys are. So, and you should be now. I don't know why, but we're still having the conversation. Because we're getting trained better. You guys are getting trained better. And you know more. You know the drugs, and you know all the drugs. Some of these guys that you'll come across in their profession or in their specialty, they know the drugs really well. But outside of that, they don't know.
They don't know
drugs.
much, yeah.
So that's important. It was important then to work on that, and it's really important now because it helps the patient in the long run, and that's our goal.
That's the ultimate goal is to help the patient. So
exactly.
Is the economy. Right now, medical care in the United States is more expensive than anywhere in the world, but our outcomes are not as good as some of the other countries in the world. I feel strongly that we're going to get medical care cannot continue to keep getting more expensive, and as our economy gets tougher, it's going to be tougher for people to get good quality care. And we don't want to dilute the care to them, by having substandard pharmacists, substandard doctors, because that can happen so easily. It's like, gosh, we got to have guys here, we need to lower our standards on admission. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
We lower our standard, we make our tests easier so we can get more people out there because workloads are so high. It's tough. It's a tough thing, but the economy of pharmacy and of medical care is going to be, that's going to be probably one of the biggest issues of all.